Most of the time, at least in the last several years, when you hear the idea of a reboot, usually kind of sends chills up our spines because a lot of times a reboot means some beloved favorite TV show or movie is about to get some modernizing treatment that's going to make us wish we'd never seen the original. Or in this case, I'm talking about a TV show that I think uh, in many ways was too far ahead of its time as a concept and just didn't have the exact writing chops uh, to make it work as a show of its era. And I believe there were some studio politic problems that happened where they did not believe in what I'm talking about. The series UFO came out of the production studios of Gary and Sylvia Anderson. They were more famous for a lot of the 1960s marionette style shows, the action shows like uh, Go Thunderbirds, Captain Scarlet, some other things like that. And then they would go on to make Space 1999, which, although it had some decent episodes, was strategically flawed. And essentially, my understanding is that the show UFO got shut down in order to expedite the creation of Space 1999. And a lot of the problems that came out of Space 1999 is because uh, they were mostly a British group. I believe they had some other continental backers working stuff with them. And the big problem they had is the Americans were giving them advice that was actually pretty bad in terms of what they thought would be receptive over here. So I'm gonna turn on just a little snippet of the opening sequence so you just get an idea what's going on with it. Uh, so UFO is an alien invasion show, but it's not a full blown invasion. Uh, the motives of the aliens are slowly known over time, but in general, what's happening is they're coming at the Earth onesie twosies, and uh, obviously they're doing some kind of scouting. Obviously, they're doing a little bit of infiltrating. They're trying to figure out what it is that makes us tick, other things like that, and uh, the best we eventually find out is that they're coming from a dying world and their motives are not good. And so, what happens on Earth is they don't want to create a general panic over this invasion. So, this super secret organization to track and eliminate UFOs is set up. And the cover organization is a movie studio. And so on one hand, you have this fully active movie and TV studio making TV shows and doing movies and its thing. And in a deep subterranean bunker is essentially the net the command center that's running this organization called Shadow. They have a bunch of different assets at their disposal. Uh, Obviously, they've got tracking networks in space. They've got uh, sub-launched uh, aircraft for anything happening over the oceans. They have flying craft. They've got ground units, and then they have a moon base with a handful of interceptors. They can go out, and I like the level of the tech they use here. The aliens are beyond us, but they're not coming in huge numbers. Essentially, if they're interceptors, they each are armed with a single small nuclear missile. If all three miss, then the aliens get through and basically get to fulfill some of their plan for that particular episode. And so sometimes you're dealing with crash landed aliens that you just need to round up and take care of. Sometimes they're actually in the middle of a mission you need to track them down on. Sometimes they're setting up subterfuge where you think you understand what they're doing and then you realize that they've kind of suckered you in on something. Obviously you're looking at this and you're going, well, yeah, this doesn't look particularly good, but this is a 1970 show. Uh, this is actually, most of what we're seeing here are miniatures, and they've done a pretty good job with the miniatures. Uh, they learned their miniature craft doing the marionette shows, and they actually perfected it quite a bit during Space 1999. Uh, why I think this show is worthy of a reboot is I think the general concept is pretty decent, and I think this could be modernized in a good way to where you could set it up so that you have it creates all kinds of different plot points that a show could work on, because you have on one level you have this super secret organization that's functioning, so therefore uh, it's trying to avoid being spotted by the public, so you run into the problem of dealing with the public in terms of how do you cover up when somebody spots something. And then, of course, there's going to be the problem with politicians suddenly realizing that there's weird parts of their budget that are just being siphoned off and ending up at a movie studio. You're going to have to deal with those kind of things. Um, you're going to have to deal with trying to figure out what the aliens are up to. What is their if you give them a logical fixed technology and or capabilities, you could have a long run trying to figure out exactly what those are and what the threat is to us. And there's always a possibility that maybe there's a rival organization uh, to your anti-UFO organization on Earth that could become a problem. Um, I see this being an easy 3 to 5 season series that could really uh, people could have a lot of fun with. Uh, if you actually wanted to check out the series, I mean, uh, they use a lot of tropes. I mean, it's not the most brilliant writing in the world, but it's not horrible. Uh, if I were to recommend a single episode to get an idea what the series is like, uh, episode 8, I believe, called Question of Priorities. Pretty decent one. So you essentially have the head of the movie studios, who is also the head of this organization, and his son becomes severely injured, and the only hope is some experimental drug on the other side of the planet. So he uses his influence and resources to start getting this medicine moved over to the hospital where his son is. And in the middle of it, alien attacks occur. And so he's basically put into a hard, rock and a hard place, you know, getting in a position where he has to say, okay, yeah, we have to do something about these aliens. Yeah, stop that shipment over there, and then trying to reroute things and try to get things going. It's a decent little episode that I think shows the potential of what the entire series could have been. Um, and yeah, if you think you might like it, give it a check. Now, if you're someone who's deeply offended by the way like original Star Trek looked and felt and acted, you'll hate this. It's a product of its era. Uh, One of the things they obviously didn't try to go. They didn't try to go for an aesthetic that was beyond their ability to uh, put to video. So the miniatures, yeah, are a little bit over the top in terms of believability, but a lot of the sets and other things that are going on um, pretty much don't take you out of it. Especially every once in a while, they have a little bit of fun or you're watching some sequence and you're going, "Well, what's going on here?" Then it turns out you're watching uh, something being shot on set, and then like cut, and then it goes and starts doing something else. It's kind of cute, and they could definitely carry that over into uh, this new rebooted program. So, I guess the question would be: has anyone ever else seen this series? If you have, what do you think of it in terms of a potential reboot? Any thoughts on how good this would be and what kind of things you could do with it? If you have thoughts along those lines, please comment below. Uh, Please consider hitting the like button. That helps me out a little bit. And if you think there's somebody else out there who would enjoy this content, please share it with them. And if you like what I do, I mean, I do all kinds of different things from philosophy to politics to, you know, sci-fi and books, putting out a handful of things each week. Uh, Consider subscribing to my channel so that you can be kept up to date with the latest stuff coming out. All right, well, I appreciate you spending time with me tonight. Hope to see you again in a future video.